All right. Let's talk about my first book. I've been trying to figure out how I want to do this. The entire point of this YouTube channel is for some semblance of publicity for my books. And it's kind of hard because I don't want to talk too much about the book itself, right? I mean, obviously, I only want my reader to have a limited understanding of the actual contents of the book before going into it. So I'm kind of running into this weird spot of writing a nuanced line between what I do and don't want to reveal specifically about like the contents of the world and the plot. But I figured that it would be kind of harmless to go through kind of the art styles of my character arc, right? Or character art, right? I mean, that seems like a pretty harmless thing to do. So we'll just start with this. This is Thenric. He is the primary protagonist of my first novel. See if I can get him fully in the frame there. I don't really have a place to like put a still shot of the image, so there you go. Again, I do at least all of my character art in Bic pens for the most part. I'm over the past like several years, I've been just all over the map, just kind of traveling. And you know, when I was still in high school and doing art really religiously there, I was working in charcoal and oil paintings, and over the years it literally just kind of funneled down into working with a single Bic pen, because you know, anyone who's ever drawn with charcoal knows that if you don't have any sort of a fixative and you close the pages of your sketchbook, it smudges, it smears, and you know, there are times where I'd be in the desert for months at a time and it's just no dice. So Bic pen. But that's my protagonist, or at least one of the many in my first book, Thenric, bearer of the cursed sight, shepherd of the Isomnar. And him and his kind of race of individuals is what my first book is about, the shepherds. I think maybe at a later date I will go a little bit more into who they are. I'm not actually super eager to do all of that right now. I mean, my first book has been done for a very long time, actually. Now that I've decided to publish, it's just going through a proofread, so I'm going to be doing that here in the next like month or two. So it'll be available very soon. But I thought maybe it'd be a little fun to just go through the artistic process of kind of some of the aesthetic pieces and why I choose to do the things that we do. So yeah, the first things first is I like to use shapes to kind of symbolize certain aspects of a character's origin, right? So that's a big part of all of this. Is I wanted these pieces. I do plan on actually publishing with my book series. Something that was surprisingly enough ill-advised by my agent when I had an agent. I'm sure I will make a video on that at some point. But because of that, I wanted to, you know, have something that stands out a little bit, rather than just having a single piece. And I didn't start doing like full torso pieces until I started working in character art. For the most part, I've been doing portraits for years, and I decided to go with kind of a hips and up view of my characters just because it felt like I could capture more of the aesthetic of the world that I'm trying to cultivate, which is obviously it's set in a world of my own making, high fantasy set in a world of my own making. But if I had to parallel it to known human history, I would put it anywhere between like the 1650s to 1750s. You know, so definitely in that like pre-industrial flintlock fantasy era. So like we do have this kind of you know, maybe Black Flag-esque aesthetic. I love I love pirates. It's not a lot in my first book, a ton in my second book. And that's just a very fun aesthetic for me to work in, both narratively and visually. We have a coin that's very important to Fenric's character, as well as a nightjar. For those of you who don't know, it's a small bird that I just really enjoy and thus made its way into my book. And not a lot of people know what a nightjar is, funnily enough. I learned that on the first beta reads of my first book. People thought that it was an actual jar. But anyway, yeah, it's super fun, like being able to kind of capture characters and build their description off of something that you contrived. I know that a lot of artists actually do this. Some of them don't place as much importance on technical proficiency that I do, which is completely fine. Like, if you're enjoying it and you really, really are passionate about it, go for it. That I think that it's super cool and it's an awesome tool. I just happen to like art that much more. I've been drawing and painting for so much longer than I've been writing. So it's just a very natural progression for me to do this before I write the character. But yeah, so this is the protagonist to my world, Fenric. And maybe I'll do a full character arc on him. Like I said, I'm not quite certain how I'm supposed to talk about these books without, presenting the book itself to you. Presumably everything that I want you to know about Fenric, you're going to read in my book about him. So, yeah, I think we'll just keep it at that for just his specific character arc for now. But, it's the process. That's what I said that I'm here to talk about. It's the process, and, it's fun. He's got kind of this medieval gauntlet that's very integral to both his past and just kind of the finer mechanics about how he works, like, in a combat setting. Again, super, super fun. I might talk about my magic system. I don't think that it would be giving too much away to talk about my magic system, because from everything I've read, and I have read a lot of fantasy, it's fairly unique. And it plays an integral part of, the plot, but also like kind of the structure of my world, how the presence of magic and altered physics would stall or progress human innovation. I think that that's actually a super interesting concept to explore, and I'm certainly not the first author that's done it. I know many, many authors who've done that. But I had to try it because, again, I do love just the idea of like what could be. That's something that really interests me. And so yeah, just me rambling. Fenric, one of the shepherds, and a piece of my art. Coming to like this specific style of character piece took a couple different iterations. As you can see, I have multiple of them. This is actually a good one. My light's all over the place. Got this crazy blind light right here just because I'm right-handed and drawing it helps to come this way. But yeah, so like I've kind of settled on a cohesive style, at least for like the character pieces, and I'm also gonna have some fun like setting pieces placed in the work as well. Again, I kind of just like the geometric structure of containing images. I think that it brings a really nice aesthetic to pieces that makes it maybe just a hair more modern than you might expect for something dealing with like classical fantasy. This was an early rendition of this character, all over the place. And the reason that I changed from doing like a portrait piece, I really do love this piece. but the reason that I changed it is just because I don't think that I'm capturing enough of the essence of like the culture and the world with just a face, which is really unfortunate because you're playing kind of a give and take game. Anytime you, I guess, zoom out from a piece, like I can't get as much detail in the face for something like this than I could if I wanted to dedicate more real estate on the page to a face. But at some point we need to start having a conversation about, scalable printing. This is, even these are larger than the book that they're going to go in. They're going to have to get vectored and shrunken down. And I mean, also timing, like I do all of these again with a big pen. Like one of these little sketchbook drawings, if I'm like putting diligence into it, takes me like truly like 7 to 10 hours. And if I want the planned, right now I've got 27. I'm already done with most of them. Going to this first book, that's like a lot of hours, over 200, and it's just sometimes you just kind of run out of daylight. But yeah, that's I guess just a little tour into some of the artwork in these books. Like I said, growing room for the channel, right? Yeah, so like I said, growing pains. I'm still new to this, and I don't really understand or really have a clear understanding of how I'm supposed to display this to the public. I feel like it's going to be easier once my first book is like out there and published. But again, I think that there's something to be said about like a piece standing on its own. I mean, some of the greatest stories ever, I would argue that most of the greatest stories ever were able to stand on their own two legs without this kind of media of expression, with authors being able to like give a great deal of exposition based on, their worth, meaning, and value. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's a bad thing. It's just, I don't want to take away from my own narrative by injecting so much extra verbiage onto its meaning. Again, we're still working through that. We're still going through exactly how I want to present all of this information to you. But for now, we're just going to label it as part of the process. So again, if the process interests you, stay tuned.